When most people think about a 529 plan, they think about a college savings account. But lately, the 529 plan has grown into something so much bigger because now you can potentially use a 529 plan to pay for education, build retirement savings, transfer wealth across generations, and include it as part of your legacy planning for your family. And all of those changes came about because of the Secure Act, as well as the updates for 2026. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to share with you how these accounts really work and how you can use them to help build a legacy for your family. A 529 plan is a tax advantage education savings account. It grows tax deferred, and qualified withdrawals are generally tax free when they're used for eligible education expenses. And traditionally, people associated a 529 plan with college tuition, books, university costs. But now, in many plans, it has expanded to include K through 12 tuition, apprenticeship programs, some credentialing programs, and vocational programs. So that's where a lot of the change has come in. And now families are starting to look at this just a little bit differently with the 529 plan. One of the biggest fears for families with a 529 is, what if the child does not use the funds? What if they get scholarships? What if they join the military? What if they start a business? Or what if they just don't use the money at all? And that led many families to believe that the money would be trapped. But in 2024, the Secure 2.0 Act changed all of that because now you can potentially roll over some of the unused funds into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary, but that does come with certain conditions. The 529 plan must be opened for at least 15 years. Recent contributions made within the past 5 years may not be rolled over to the Roth IRA, and the Roth IRA must be in the name of the beneficiary, not the account owner, not the grandparent, not the parent. And then there's also a $35,000 lifetime limit that is currently in place. And it still must adhere to the current contribution limits for 2026 right now is $7,500 for individuals under 50. So as you can see, this may take several years in order to meet that $35,000 current threshold. And so that gives the beneficiaries and the account owners another way to use the funds within the 529 plan and still have the benefit of using those funds. Now let's talk about the 2026 updates and the conversations around 529 plans. And one of the biggest changes is the expansion of K through 12 qualified expenses. That dollar amount has been moved from $10,000 to $20,000 for each beneficiary. And there's also been talk about expanding more of the trade certifications, vocational certifications, and workforce certifications. Because let's be honest about it, not every child takes the traditional 4-year university path. And these changes recognize that. And I think that's a good point for families as they're deciding and helping their child in their education path. Here's one thing that many people miss about the 529 plan, and that is the legacy component. Many people think that the beneficiary owns the account, but technically the owner controls the account, and that's a huge distinction because the beneficiary does benefit from the account, but the owner controls the investments, the withdrawals, and some beneficiary changes. And that creates flexibility across generations. Because if the beneficiary does not use the money, the owner may transfer the account to another child, a grandchild, a niece or nephew, or another qualified family member. And that's where you can start to create that generational education legacy for your family. Another thing is, unlike other custodial accounts, there's no federal mandate that says that the account has to be used by a certain age. Let's take this one step further. What if the owner passes? Well, the 529 plan does not go to the beneficiary. Most states allow for a successor owner to be named, and if that's done correctly, then it passes to the new owner without going through probate. But what if there is no successor owner named? Well, then it can become subject to the estate, the plan, or state law. And so you can see why it's important for ownership and structure to be applied to a 529 plan. And even more, how the 529 plan is increasingly becoming part of the estate planning, generational wealth planning, as well as other estate planning. Here's something for my Indiana viewers, an important point that I'd like for you to understand. The state of Indiana has one of the strongest state tax credits for 529 contributions. But currently, Indiana treats the 529 to Roth rollover IRAs as an ineligible withdrawal for state tax credit purposes. And that may trigger the recapture of the state tax credit from previous contributions. So that's something that is being looked at in legislature and something that you certainly want to speak with your tax preparer about. And so, as you can see, the 529 plan is more than just a college savings. It can be used to pay for other types of education for your child or for your grandchild or for your niece or your nephew. And it can also create a pathway for generational educational planning for your family for generations to come. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and please subscribe and come back to my channel because your money always matters.